going to be any sort of real
Why am I gonna
solidarity.
show humility to you, a bunch of idiots who are wrong?
Because I
like, what does humility mean? Like, oh, maybe you're right about your dumb opinion that's going to cost us this election.
Okay.
Maybe you're right about your dumb opinion that gets the majority of the country to.
So we're going to have a look at a debate between Cenk Uygur and his nephew Hasan. They apparently got together over this Thanksgiving weekend and had a discussion, and Cenk went on Hasan's podcast. And before we get into it, though, I want to make a few things clear about good old Cenk, right? Cenk Uygur. He is not waking up. He appears to be, but he is grifting. And here's a couple examples. And I just want to say that I know that he's smart enough to realize this. I'm not saying he's a smart guy, but he's smart enough to see the writing on the wall, with MSNBC up for sale and CNN grasping at straws, basically trying to save their network as well. We recently seen Mika Brzezinski and what's his name go and visit Trump at Mar-a-Lago and try to, make peace with him, essentially, which, in my opinion, is nonsense that Trump even met with these people. I know they've known him for a long time. And even with CNN, where Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski went and visited with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, basically trying to maybe rekindle the fire where he'll maybe go on their show and try to breathe some life back into it. But, because when you look back at Trump's first 4 years, CNN, MSNBC, the hatred of Trump, the fear-mongering of Trump, the attacks on the people that supported Trump basically made people's careers. We saw Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and even old creepy dude, what's his name? I can't think of it, but Brian Stelter. He made their careers, right? And it was funny because they're all three fired like the second Donald Trump was out, pretty much, which is a clear indicator that Donald Trump made their careers and made them famous. And so Cenk Uygur, he's smart enough to see the writing on the wall, and he's basically shilling to the right to act like he's maybe waking up, which I'm not falling for it, and I don't think you should either. Even Anna Kasparian, she appears that she's been waking up, but it took her being physically attacked, I believe. And it's not like Anna Kasparian, who seems to be kind of waking up. There's a lot of people that believe that she went out there and voted for Trump, but, that still remains to be seen. I don't think we'll ever know. And, I just want to make it clear that Cenk is acting like he's smart, and he's smart enough to frame things in a way to convince people, but he's still in the bag for the Democratic Party 100%, and don't be fooled by it. And so anyways, after that long intro, let's just go ahead and get right into this debate.
But they never make that case because they're corporate douchebags. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, all of Democratic leadership. And so these guys are never going to win another general election. The American people hate them. They should hate them, okay? And so what the right wing doesn't understand is both the populist left and what they call the woke left, I call radical left or whatever, we'll figure out the label in a minute. But in this case, you're on the right side. You say the corporate interests, the donors, right? So, and the populist right agrees with that. So that's actually an interesting point that we should come back to, a point of agreement we should come back to. But the part where we disagree, Haas, is you say, well, if they're digging in on a wedge issue, ignore it. But Kamala Harris literally did that. They had a giant debate about whether to address it or not.
No.
They even pulled ads where they addressed it.
You're misunderstanding me.
And they decided, let's not address
You're
it.
wrong.
It was a mistake.
They literally also, they did this with immigration especially. They were like, we're not going to ignore it. We're just going to get ahead of it. And what they did with immigration, they're going to do with trans issues next election cycle. And it's the same principle over and over again. It makes you look like a hypocrite, and it makes you look like the Republicans were right all along. And the only thing it does is prime your base into conceding and agreeing with the Republican framing on an issue.
So what do you do instead? What I say is I delineate. So when you say, hey, Andy Bashir runs against it, but which issue? So if you're talking about constitutional rights, you fight for trans rights 100%. You're talking about military, you fight 100%. I'd fight on bathrooms. I'd fight on high school. But I draw the line on sports. I draw professional sports. I draw the line on giving free surgeries.
That's the thing.
Then you can defend your position and get back to
where
the great majority of American people agree with you.
You want to know why there's no reason to draw any of these lines? Because Kamala Harris did actually bring this up, which I thought was like, especially because like she didn't have a clear or consistent position on this at all. It was like it was left out there in the dark. But like Trump did the same thing as well for undocumented migrants.
Say that.
It's just like it's a thing that nobody gives a shit about until people are primed into caring about it. That's my point. It's been happening for a very long time for prisoners that want to get this component of healthcare, and nobody technically gives a shit about it. It's already like a incredibly tiny, minuscule, marginal percentage. So it doesn't matter. Like it ultimately doesn't matter. I'm saying if the Democrats had
but
something
it did matter.
if Democrats had, but it didn't, and I'll get to that in a second. If Democrats had something that they were fighting for, nobody would give a shit about this. That's the point.
Yeah, but that
you brought up Bernie Sanders. And you said, oh, healthcare, universal healthcare. Bernie Sanders has also said trans rights are human rights. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like...
But that's the difference between 2016 and 2020.
It's not like Bernie Sanders. It's not like Bernie Sanders himself is saying like, yeah, trans people, we got to cut them out of this bargain.
Trans people, you guys are just making that up.
No,
but in Haas, when you frame it
first
that
of all,
way, you get all these crazy
Republicans
people
are
online.
saying that. Republicans are saying that.
No, I know, but we're not saying that. But
No,
you get
I
all
know.
these crazy people online who are like, oh my God, if you don't agree to free surgeries for every trans person on planet Earth, you're a Nazi. Well, you know those people exist, and those people, that is the radical left, and they are stupid, and they do cost us elections.
No, you're hyper focusing, and I've had this conversation privately with you many times over. You are hyper focusing on people that are in your replies on Twitter, and because
so you agree
that's
with
all
me,
you
that radical left
because
is bullshit,
all you interact
stupid dumbasses. Do you agree?
There are a million people that are both in your replies that have also gotten mad at me as well, time and time again, on specific issues, maybe ones that even pertain to trans rights. Okay, it literally doesn't matter. People get very passionate, understanding. I'm very understanding.
Shocking agreement. I agree. There's 13 douchebags online. That's what I said from day one.
I know, but why the would you ever hyper focus on
but
people like that?
Look, no. So you might be doing the right thing. Hold on.
You're doing the Bill Maher thing. You're demanding that there needs to be a sister
bullshit.
No, you're doing the sister soldier moment.
No, bullshit.
No, you're trying to.
Okay, so the minute we said the most reasonable things on earth, which you now agree with apparently, then what happened? It wasn't just the 13 douchebags online. And by the way, everybody said, no, those 13 douchebags represent all the left. You're not on the left anymore because the 13 douchebags control the left. And then what happened next? Then Majority Report jumped in, and Lance from the Serfs, and all the other little dirtbags jumped in, and they were like, "No, Cenk and Anna are turning right. The 13 douchebags are right. We need to protect every trans person should get free surgery. Even in China, even though we have nothing to do with China, we hate them. They're Nazis.
You got to okay.
I mean, I'm 100% right. Every dirtbag show did it.
You got to
every dirtbag show did it. Tell me I'm wrong.
This is reframing an issue that is now we've moved away from the electoral consequences of a trans ad to your own personal anger and frustration that you have with left-wing media online. We are
so do you agree left-wing media online, those guys that I listed are full of shit?
I have
and in a tiny stupid minority?
I have disagreements with everyone in this space, but there's a reason why seemingly I don't catch the same amount of strays that you do because I don't hyper focus.
I can tell you why.
I don't hyper focus. What do you think it is?
They think you're hot, young. I don't mean attractive. God bless on that. Okay. I'm also obviously hot. I mean, as in they think, oh, the young people watch Hasan. He's cool. And you give the thing of like, oh, no, trans people are right on everything, right? You don't come out and make the distinctions that Anna and I made. Okay, so they think, oh, no, he's good. He's extreme as we are. I think he's woke left. Yay, extremeness.
I think the reason, first of all, you're...
Okay, by the way, Majority Report and all of you guys, you better attack him. He apparently agrees with me. Okay, you better attack him. You're not going to attack him, are you?
You're hyper personalizing this into like criticisms that you've received.
Somebody comes and punches you in the face 12 times, and you go, what? Why are you hyper personalizing it?
Because
just because I called you a Nazi, now it's personal to you.
Because myself, you, Majority Report,
but I never changed my policy. All of
this is inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. And whenever there's like drama, for example, I've been getting attacked mercilessly by my former podcast co-host that has been actively trying to deplatform me for the past 2 months because he thinks that, or he's claiming that I am creating a space that is anti-Semitic. The way I've dealt with that, for the most part, is by just actively ignoring it leading up to the election, because I was like, this is some silly nonsense. And in the aftermath, I covered some of the broader points, and I've moved on. If you extend the conflict that way, instead of trying to find a reasonable middle ground, and even show humility in a certain, I don't agree. Even show humility instead of saying I'm right, there's never going to be any sort of real solidarity.
Why am I show humility to you, bunch of idiots who are wrong?
Because I
like what does humility mean? Like, oh, maybe you're right about your dumb opinion that's going to cost us this election. Okay. Maybe you're right about your dumb opinion that gets the majority of the country to hate us when our economic positions are overwhelmingly popular. Maybe you making us intensely unpopular when we should be focusing on universal health care, higher wages, paid family leave. But you idiots hate policy. All you want is identity politic bullshit, and you think that drives ratings, and you want me to show humility to those morons? None. Zero.
Let's have You gotta love the passion, right? You gotta at least love the passion, and that was definitely entertaining. Seeing Cenk flip his lid there. I think I heard some women in the background probably coming to check on him to make sure that everything was okay, tell him to calm down, all that type of stuff. And I gotta say, I don't watch any of Hasan's content, so I don't really know where he's coming from besides what he's saying here. And I tend to agree with Cenk whenever he says that if you want to cater to the fringe thing, you want to pat everybody on the back and give them a participation trophy, in so many words, right? That's how I interpret what he said. And you want to cater to this fringe and make sure that everybody is okay and in their safe space, rather than calling out the bullshit and saying that you're messing up when you're focused on the wrong things, rather than trying to make people's lives better. You're going to lose an election. You're going to never win an election again until you change those viewpoints. And, that's true. And that goes for both sides. And that's why Donald Trump won in such the manner that he did, was because he was appealing to people's, their lives. People care more about the cost of eggs and butter and gas and, interest rates and everything like that than they do for these fringe, woke, highlighted topics. I mean, they talk about trans rights like it's the most important thing, which in my opinion, every trans person has the same rights that you and I do. So I don't even understand what they're talking about. I mean, they even have more rights than some of us, because specifically women, because they're allowed to participate in women's sports where women don't have anywhere else to go. So their trans rights are actually infringing on women's rights, and is a good example and reason why we need to remove biological males from women's sports, and I look forward to Trump getting that done, to be honest with you. But they act like that should be more important to the everyday average American than paying their own bills, right? People are carrying credit card debt, losing money to interest every single month, and they want to tell you that you need to care more about trans rights, which to me means men being in women's locker rooms and things like that, things I've already described, than paying their own bills, than taking care of their own family. And it's just completely off base, and it doesn't connect or resonate with the majority of Americans. It's only the people that are stuck in the cult that think that it should be more important. And I would argue that these people aren't struggling. I would argue that these people are probably more rich, have an easier life as far as money goes than the everyday average American, which affords them the ability to try to talk from their high horse up there like, you guys need to be like us. And it's like, man, screw you. We're just trying to pay our bills. We're trying to start a family. We're trying to, take care of the things that we have to take care of so that we can keep this roof over our head. Meanwhile, you guys want me to care about men being in women's sports, or, men being able to transition in prisons. And to counter Hasan's point there about that was going on during Trump's regime, well, people didn't know about it. I would argue that most of us didn't know about it, and had we known, we would have said, no, we don't want that. And, that was when the House was led by Democrats and Nancy Pelosi. So, we didn't have quite the bargaining ability to get things done like we do now, as far as Trump having the House and the Senate. And don't get me wrong, Republicans aren't saying F trans people like Cenk claimed. They're basically saying we support women, which is funny because the left acts like the right, the Republicans, don't support women simply because they couldn't vote for Kamala Harris, who was a terrible candidate. So we're actually out there defending women, and it's the fringe that wants to spin it as if we're saying F trans people. They want to come out here and claim it's only such a small portion of the population. And I say, well, why do we want such a small portion of the population to infringe on every single woman athlete, girl to grown woman? It only takes one piece of poop, one little speck of poop to ruin the whole bowl of ice cream. And so I'm sorry to say it, but that's what allowing a biological man into women's sports does. It ruins the whole thing. It's not fair competition. It's not fun to watch. And it's not fair for the women, the girls, to participate in, knowing that they have a biological disadvantage. And then if you're one of these parents that's out here funding, a high school athlete or something like that, you know that sports are expensive. And it's disappointing, it's disheartening, it's depressing to know that a biological male, a biological boy could be participating in that spot and potentially stealing scholarship opportunities, winning tournaments, setting records, ruining the whole thing, like I said. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was a fun one to watch. There's actually more clips from this one that I'm going to make future videos out of. So if you enjoyed this one, be on the lookout for one of those because I have more in store for you. And so anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video. It was definitely entertaining, and I'll see you guys in the next one. You won't want to miss it.